I've been in a lot of different cultures, a lot of different practices, opened practices, closed practices, been medical director, like all of these things. And it just, everywhere is so different. And I think until you can kind of cultivate a culture that really matches who you are fundamentally, I think you're always going to be searching for like something better.
So tell me a little bit about your clinic, your brand. Where are you guys located? How long have you been open? And then let's dig in.
All right, sounds good. So I'm Ashley Carmen. I am in Northern Virginia. It is about 5 to 10 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. So my first location that I opened was in January of 2021, right on the heels of COVID, which was
Fun.
probably not a great idea, but here
Fun.
we are. And then I just kind of slowly and very organically, I met another injector like in 22, and she just kind of like fell into my lap. And I kind of like, I have a lot of friends that like have opened up med spas and started in aesthetics, and they've opened companies and done all of these crazy, great big things, but they've always had like a plan.
Yeah.
And I am very much not a planner. Like I'm kind of a little bit like fly by the seat of my pants. And
Well, obviously it's working. So
it is working. I'm like a big gut person. Like if something's screaming at me, I have to listen.
Yeah.
And so I literally walked into work one day at the end of 2020 and was like, I think I'm going to open my own practice. And 3 weeks later, I literally opened a practice. And
That's awesome.
I had already been a full-time injector for years.
Okay.
And so it wasn't weird. It wasn't
So the
crazy.
industry wasn't new to you.
No.
But being a business owner.
The business owner part was definitely new, but it was very unique that I was like able to open my doors, and I already had a full book at my
awesome.
at my previous place.
Which is the thing that everyone worries about before they open, which is where do the clients, or where are they going to come from?
Yeah, but the unique part about where Northern Virginia, like in Northern Virginia, like people love convenience, and it has to be convenient. So I moved to, when I opened my practice, it was in Old Town Alexandria. So it was literally about 4 miles down the road from where I was working. And then prior to that place, I was at a spa that was 4 miles from that one. And then before that, it was like
So no one had to
3
move very
miles
far.
from that one.
Yeah.
No, but like every time I was moving to a different place, you lose a good bit of your book because it's no longer convenient.
Got it.
Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, like that 4 miles might suddenly now add 45 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour sometimes. Like the traffic can just be uncontrollable.
Got it.
And Old Town's very unique in that it is old. So it's a lot of one ways, a lot of stop signs, a lot of like, even for me to go, if I'm in a car driving 11 blocks, it can take me 25 minutes sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So it's a unique little area. But then anyway, so back to what I was saying, this injector fell into my lap in 2022. I started mentoring her and just kind of helping her. And then turned out we ended up like really hitting it off. And I was like, do you want to open a location for me? And that was it. So then I opened a second.
That's a lot of trust. You do fly by the seat of your pants.
I do. And that also was like faintly an overnight decision as well. She had been looking for like a better fit, and she was working 2 different places and was doing great and was super happy, but she just was like looking for a home. And I think that that's so valuable. And I think that's what every injector wants. And I think that's why a lot of injectors end up opening on their own, and especially very early on.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've
haven't found their home. So like maybe I need to go make my own home.
Yeah. And I think that's really what it is. Like they don't feel supported or whatever, but I've been, a full-time injector now for almost 10 years. And I've been in a lot of different cultures, a lot of different practices, opened practices, closed practices, been medical director, like all of these things. And it just, everywhere is so different. And I think until you can kind of cultivate a culture that really matches who you are fundamentally, I think you're always going to be searching for like something better.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of mentorship. So it's like, I hear the same kind of thing all the time. It's like, oh, I don't feel supported, or there's nobody available to help, or there's never any product, or, the AC's out all the time, or like, there's always something. And it's frustrating. So I think it ends up kind of just naturally progressing. But anyway, so I have 2 locations now. And then, 4 months after I opened the Middleburg location, I actually was able to purchase my building in Old Town, which is super
awesome.
unique.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was a huge win. And then when I purchased that building, I actually opened wellness. And so that's like technically my third location, but it sits on top of my first location. So
That's so cool.
3 locations in almost 5 years. So
Like I said, flying by the seat of your pants
totally,
works. It works
totally.
for you.
It does work.
But it sounds
yeah.
like you're making it's, you know, sometimes when people hear fly by the seat of your pants, they think like, oh, it's too sudden. But it sounds like you're being really smart about your decisions. So
Yeah.
things are happening for you quickly, but they sound like really smart decisions.
Yeah.
And you mentioned wellness, and I'm curious about that because so for me, I'm the director of strategic growth. And so I'm
Okay.
always looking at like how are things evolving and in our industry, especially, you know, you've been in the industry for
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Evolution is the name of the game. Whereas before it
Totally.
was totally predictable trends. It was seasonally
Yeah.
based.
Mm-mm.
The conversation was exactly the same. We talked to everyone the same. In the last few years, and even more so in the last 2 and in 1 year, things have completely changed to where one, social media did us a favor at first because we're like, oh, everybody knows about us now and everybody's willing to do it. Well, but then these influencers started influencing, right? So
Yep.
now it's like
Yeah.
they say, well, nobody wants to do filler anymore. And then everyone's like, oh, I guess we don't do filler anymore.
Right.
So what are you seeing as far as trends in the industry? What are you seeing drop off? What are you seeing there an uptick in? Like, these are where my passions are, but I want to
Yeah.
know what your take is on that, what you've seen.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when we start talking about trends, and you mentioned in the past like couple like years and months, and I'm like, oh my god, in the past 3 weeks, it
Yeah.
has been
Let's not
ever
talk about
evolving.
tariffs, but
Yeah, well, no, even that
Yeah.
aside, like
Yeah.
it's, I mean, you know, it's kind of, it's been very interesting the past couple of weeks with like the wellness space
Yes.
specifically, like
Agreed.
aesthetics specifically as it relates to like neurotoxins and fillers and biostimulators and all of that, I think is pretty stable-ish for now. You know, we'll see where the tariffs
Yeah,
land on
right.
that one, but the wellness space has been crazy with like the GLPs and the lawsuits and like just everything changing. The compound pharmacies trying to keep up, and then it's, you know, that's a whole, we could get on like a soapbox totally
Oh,
separate about
absolutely.
that. But I think like in general, the trends, everybody's still looking for holistic care. And that's like really what I built my brand on, because before I was in aesthetics, I was a medical ICU nurse. And so I've never
And
been
you don't
able
lose that. Just because you go into aesthetics, you
No.
don't lose that passion and what drove you there. Yeah.
Or the assessment
Yeah,
skills.
yeah.
So it's like if somebody's like sitting in your chair and you're like talking about their neurotoxin, they're like, oh yeah, you know, and you're like, oh, how's your dog?
Yeah,
How's the kids?
yeah,
How
yeah.
you know, how's the neighbor squirrel? What's going on? And they suddenly kind of mention that like, oh well, you know, I've had this like low back pain, and like, you know, I've been, you know, oh, by the way, I started GLPs and I've been nauseous for 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, let's pause. Like, what's going on?
Mhm.
And it's just like this natural thing that like you can't shut off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I naturally kind of ended up with this holistic care model. And so it's a relief to see that that's
Where the
where
industry
things
is
are
going.
trending,
Yeah.
where it's not like, oh, we're just doing lip filler.
Right.
It's like now we're talking
Which
about
was
like,
never the right thing to do anyways.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's why everybody started looking weird.
Yeah. No one was doing facial balancing.
No.
And I mean, we're getting there, but maybe that's also why the filler is falling off. But I do
Yeah.
agree that wellness, like, I'm the most intrigued by that. But having grown up in the aesthetics industry,
Right.
it's not something I know well. But the hormone replacement therapy is really exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many aspects that I'm excited that our industry is moving in, and I'm seeing that as a trend.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked for what comes next, but I think there's catch up, at least for me. And so for us lifers that have been in here
Yeah.
that haven't centered it on wellness or made that a big part of our practice,
Yeah.
I think we have some catching up to do, but I'm excited to do that catching up because I do
Same.
think that's going to be the next thing for our industry. And I feel like it's kind of already getting there. Like, more and more people are already getting into that space,
Yeah.
you know, like NAD plus and all of these different things that people are getting. Like, I want more education. And what I hope for these med conferences that we incorporate that more, knowing that that's where we're headed. Like, give us more information on that. Give us more education around that.
I think it's interesting that like the growth and wellness and hormones and all of that like somehow ended up falling into the aesthetic space.
Right?
Like, it's very strange.
Yeah.
And it's almost as strange as like your OBGYN doing your talks.
Right.
Like, can we just kind of all,
Right.
like, to some degree, I'm like, we need to all stay in our lane, but like nobody was owning wellness.
Yeah.
Like, you had a handful of DOs, and even I'm in this huge market in the DMV, this massive, massive market. And like the number of DOs that we have that want to specialize in like holistic care, the one that I refer to all the time has like a 14-month wait list. And that's if she does your full assessment and says she can help you.
Yeah, we can talk about this forever. I know that we
Yeah.
can, because the other thing too is I keep looking from the corner of my eye, but I would love, let's exchange numbers, because I am
Yeah.
really passionate about this. But and honestly, I'm such a novice at it. But what I've been hearing too is that people are like, you've got to commit to wellness. You can't have it as like
It cannot just be
an
weight loss. Like
offshoot.
it can't just be. I get
can't be an
so
afterthought.
frustrated where it's like it's an afterthought,
Yeah.
or it's like just GLPs,
Yeah.
or people are just doing testosterone. I'm like, it's not that simple. It is not that
like
simple.
you have
at
to
all.
have someone that's
Yeah.
dedicated to it, not someone who dabbles in it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. We're done. We're wrapping up.
He's like, this is your final cut.
Here,
We're done.
Let's exchange numbers though, because I want to
Yeah.
talk about that some more. I love talking
yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
So
Anytime. Yeah.
let's
it was
chat
great.
more. And
All
then
right.
you go find a bed that you've been dreaming of.
I'm so sleepy.